Yesterday I moved the driver's side floor pan, as you can see, and cleaned up the rocker so everything fits the way it's supposed to. So I now also went in, as you can see, made the new mounting device for the Miata and got the next piece of tubing all fit. So now I can start making the bottom pieces and everything else to connect the Miata to the Pontiac. Just finished up the welding and grinding on the driver's side frame rail. So got it all welded up, ground up, got a little bit of splatter to take off yet, but so now I have to cut a little short on that end back there so that it clears the tire when we put it in there, but gives us a little extra room so we can start fabricating how we're going to tie the back together side to side, roll hoop, make sure the exhaust gets out. So just need a little bit shorter and then we can get everything for the rear end going in. So I got the frame rails all shortened up. It's not their final length, but it keeps it out of, you can see the wheel well that's still there. That'll get cut out eventually. But it keeps it out of the way of that, but it gives us a general layout of where everything's going to go. So I have them all leveled with the car and touching where they're supposed to touch. So my plan is now is to put the rear end in. I got to tack the brakes back on it. And the next thing I'd like to do is we can mock up approximately where the drive shaft's going to go, but put some exhaust pipes in it and also some mufflers so we can start building around that stuff, because we know approximately here is where the lower control arm mount's going to go, and then the upper control arm mount's going to go about in here. So let's figure out where the next big pieces are supposed to fit. Well, I got the brace tacked back onto the rear end. So the rear end set at 3 degrees and the top of the brace is 0. So I got the rear end at approximately 97 inches from the center line of the front axle that we used when we put the front end on. And I've got the ride height set at about 6 inches. 6-7 inches is probably where we'll be. And it's centered within probably 1/4 of an inch, which for what we're doing right now is perfect. So now I'll get my engine and transmission a little closer to center, get that set up, get it leveled, get it at 3 degrees, and put some exhaust manifolds on it and see if I can run some pipes back through here. So we're back at it again this morning. Wanted to start working on the transmission mounts. I've got the transmission, I should say, polyurethane mount and the engine polyurethane mount coming, but I wanted to get started on the mounts that go from frame to just short of the transmission. So the transmission would be about over here. So I had to have something for it to come out and also have to leave clearance for the exhaust system. So what I decided to do was to put a bolt and double shear, so I drilled a hole through the pipe, and I'll take this pipe that's probably 9/16 ID and weld it in there, and then I made a pie cut here and took it pretty close to that bottom edge. So what I'll do is bend this up, tack it along there, tack the pipe in, and we'll see how it looks. Well, there we have one passenger side transmission mount. Let's have some burrs to clean up in here, but very happy with it all the way around. I think it will work quite nicely. So get that put on the car, just kind of hold it on with some C-clamps, and we'll move forward. Kind of just put that transmission mount in, just clamped it in place. So I think everything's going to look really good. You can see it's aligned up with the temporary mount I have in place. The only thing I'm going to have to do is maybe move the exhaust pipe over a little bit or put a little bit of a dent into it. I'm trying to keep it so this is flat with the bottom of the rocker panel. So I'd like to keep everything rocker panel height and up. So right now, I might just have to move that in a little bit. We'll have to see how it fits around the transmission oil pan. But right now, if anything, we can just put a little bit of dent in that, and we'll still have the same area for the exhaust gases to flow through. We'll just have to make it a little thinner in a spot. But besides that, we're happy. Now we just got to go make one look just like it for the other side. Second one's in now. So this is the driver's side, of course. And it's just kind of mocked up. So what I have to do is, my plan is to get the engine mounted. So those mounts should be here Friday or Saturday. And get the mounts made up to the frame. And then I also have a polyurethane transmission mount coming. So when I say get that, then I can make a step down that goes here. And then all you have to do is run a single bolt across, double shear. Should be nice and strong, and everything should be wonderful. So right now, all of this is centered in the car, and it basically the heights and angles that I need. So a little bit more work on the transmission tunnel arms. So what I'm going to do is, against the frame rails, I'm going to put in a little box section. So I'm going to cut into those, and I'll show that in a minute, so that I can run the fuel lines and brake lines and things like that to the back. So, well, I think I got them all done now. I still got some welding slag. Got a couple holes to touch up here with a welder tomorrow morning, and then I'll do some finish grinding. But this will sit, this is the top of the car, so this is where the transmission mount is, this will be the floor pan, and this is where the oil and fuel lines and gas lines and everything can pass through. So just a piece of 2x2 with the end cut off, of course, so that I can weld all the way around, probably partially around here, but and then maybe I'll put a brace or something across on top. But otherwise, very happy. Still warm, but good day's worth of work. Doesn't look like much, but again, just takes time. Well, I got my steel in today, so I got some 1 3/4, 1/4 wall, because my bushings that are going to go in here are 1 1/4 ID for this, 1 1/4 OD for the bushing, 1/2 bolt, like 2.5 inches long. So I'll have to cut these down on the lathe a little bit. So I fish mouthed the tube using a 1 3/4 hole saw, and then I ordered, I think it's 1 3/8 tubing, 1/8 wall to fit the bungs, and then these are 3/4 bungs, or 3/4 johnny joints, which are greasable and fully rebuildable. So this end here will go on the rear axle, which will allow a lot of articulation, and this end here, it'll have a metal sleeve and a bolt, of course, and this will be on the frame side, and the urethane will give us some dampening, so you won't get as much road noise and stuff up into the car. So this is the first one. Go ahead and tack this together, and we'll move on to the next one. So this is my little fixture I concepted up. My end where the polyurethane bushing goes, I went and faced each end of those on the lathe. So those are nice and square to this surface. And then this is 2.5 inches, this is 1 3/8, which leaves us 1 5/8. Yes. So I divided that by 2 and came up with 5/8. So I just made stacks of washers. These are within 0.02 of each other. And checked it really quick, and everything looks good. So we're nice and straight, we're nice and square, simple fixture, and then I'm just going to put tacks on here for now. Tack it in this area, and check everything out in the car, and once everything is good, I'll go ahead and fully weld that. But that is a press fit on this end, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll do that when I do the final weld up. Well, there they are, tacked together, and then I just realized I made the uppers way too short. So from the side view, these are supposed to be 24, and these are supposed to be basically 16.8 inches from the side view. Well, I forgot that they're on a 35-degree angle. So those are way short, but the nice thing is these are just tacked together and these are just pressed in, so I can take those out. I got a lot more tubing left, so I'll remake those tomorrow. But so far, good progress for the afternoon. I got the new arms remade. Just gonna cut the tack welds and popped out the threaded bungs. So you can see these are much closer to the lower links. And I will kind of explain my math and what I did wrong the first time, so that you guys can, if you do this for yourself, can do it right the next time without saving or without making two pieces of steel you don't need. But of course, nothing's ever scrap. So just kind of laid these out roughly how this is going to look. So the rear end is here. This is the brace, and you're looking down, of course, from the top. And what I wanted to do was have 70 degrees between this angle. According to everything that I've read, for a good street vehicle, you take the lower link, which I decided to be 24, and from the side view, this distance from here to here should be 70% of that for the upper control arm. So what I did on those over there is I made them 16.8. Well, as you can see, these are going to be a lot longer. So I did some high school trig, and it probably won't show up, but 70 degrees included angle, which means this is 35 here. I wanted 16.8 straight, so I just did the cosine of 35 degrees is 16.8 over z, which came out to just over 20.5 inches. And that's from center line of the bolt to center line of the bolt. And then also, these arms are going to be tipped down 6 degrees. So I just add a little bit more and came up with, instead of 20.51, they came out to 20.6, basically 20 5/8. And then this is how much I have to remove for the bung and the threaded end and the gem nut. So now, when I put tape measure on there, we get about 16.8. So, of course, this is just a rough guesstimate, so we'll throw these on the car next. I have to make some brackets here for the rear end, mock up some brackets for the front mounts for the lowers, and once we get the lowers mounted for the front, then we can start working on brackets for the rear. But I'll just finish drilling the holes for the rear lower control arm mounts. So in a sense, the rear axle will go here, and this is one side and this is the other. So I'll split it here and split it down here. So these holes are for the, I don't have one over here, lower control arm. These are for the lower control arm. And then I did some 1-inch spaced holes, and I'll make a bracket to the coilover to mount to. So now I just gotta zip these in half, do some deburring, and they'll be ready to go. Sure. Well, I've got the pieces all cut apart, and just a rough deburr on them, just with a flapper wheel. So don't cut myself. And I just kind of mocked one up so you can see what it looks like with the, that's facing the wrong way. So they'll sit in there like that. Squish them together about 2 inches apart. This will get welded onto the rear end housing, and we'll make a bracket back here that kind of narrows down, probably with a piece of tubing between it, so it gives us some adjustment for gross ride height adjustment of about 1 inch here, so we can use like 2 adjacent holes to make the shock mount too, and then if we want to lower it or raise it, we can use the next 2 sets. And we'll have about 1 inch of play, along with whatever the coilovers allow us, so we'll have plenty of adjustment in the rear end. So here's my concept for the lower control arm to the frame. So this will have the polyurethane bushings with the circ fittings on them. So what I'd like to do, if it'll allow me, is possibly put a spacer in here, and if I don't have enough room on my length, I'll just cut this in half on the top and bottom and narrow this in, just bring it in to the distance that I need. But with that, drill a hole in the side, weld it all the way around on the outside, and then we can always, you know, cut these back a little bit. We don't need all this extra material here, but bushing should be in tomorrow. Got indication of that. So we'll check those out and we'll start moving forward tomorrow morning. I just opened my kit up from ProThing that I had bought. And it's a polyurethane kit. I think it's probably for leaf springs, but it's universal, it'll work for anything. So I've got bushings, of course the hardware kit, the inner bushings, and then this is what I really wanted it for, is that these are greasable. So we can put these in, put the nuts on them, and we can just hit the Zerk fitting anytime we need to add a little bit more lubrication. So those will be for the frame side, and it looks like with the clearance and everything I'd have to narrow these up just a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and narrow them up so that they fit snug against the bushings, and then we can just crush them down and run the bolts through. So that'll be the next thing I work on. I got to check out my drill press because it's making funny noises, but after we get that done, we'll start working on these.